To reduce pollution and land development effects from transportation, we need to track the environmental impacts from commuting to the building. Transportation impacts are tracked in ARC based on the carbon impacts of occupants and visitors traveling to the building. Data is collected by an occupant survey administered directly through the ARC platform. The survey contains 2 questions. One is related to transportation data and the other to human experience. The transportation question asks respondents, on a typical day, how do you get to this building? One day, one way. Respondents provide their typical mode or modes of transportation as well as a distance traveled for each mode. For example, walking half a mile and then taking a train 6 miles. Before administering the survey, confirm the project's occupancy is accurate since the percent response rate needed to generate a score is based on occupancy. Identify the best approach to collecting survey responses for your project. The survey must be administered through ARC, which provides flexible administration options for surveying regular building occupants and visitors by providing you with a single survey link. You have 2 primary options for survey administration. The first is to email the survey link directly to respondents. The second is to collect in-person responses from a common area on a shared device. This method is also known as a lobby survey. To administer either option, you will need to obtain the survey link. First, open the project where you want to collect data. Then navigate to Data Input and Transportation. When emailing the survey, you can select the default language. Multiple languages are available, including English, French, Portuguese, German, Spanish, and Chinese. When respondents receive the email and open the survey link, they can also adjust the language to their preference. Once respondents have completed the survey by hitting Submit, their response will be automatically sent back to ARC for tabulation in the total response rate. The second way to collect the transportation data is by administering the survey in person through ARC's Lobby Survey feature. Simply toggle on the Lobby Survey option, which allows you to collect multiple responses from one or many devices. This method enables you to queue up the survey on a tablet or multiple computers so that when one person submits a survey, the page will automatically refresh to a new, clean survey, and the next person in line can complete their responses. The Lobby Survey feature can be activated for 48 hours at a time. If the survey on the shared device is not refreshing to a new survey form, the 48-hour time period may have expired. In order to generate a transportation score, all projects must receive a minimum response rate of 25% based on the occupancy of the project. Projects with occupancy greater than 500 will see a lowered response rate that continues to decrease as occupancy increases. For instance, a very large skyscraper with 4,000 occupants may only need a 12% response rate to generate a score. The specific response rate needed for your project to generate a transportation score will always be shown on the Transportation Data Input page. As responses are submitted, you can view the total response rate increase over time. Once responses are more than 12 months old, they are no longer incorporated into the transportation score, and new responses must be obtained in order to maintain a response rate high enough to generate a score. Note that occupancy and survey response rates are interdependent. For example, let's say you have collected enough survey responses to generate a transportation score, but then update your occupancy value. If the new occupancy value results in your transportation survey response rate no longer being enough to generate a score, then your transportation score will drop to 0 until enough additional responses are collected to meet the new threshold. You are encouraged to collect as many responses as possible to avoid this scenario, as well as to capture the greatest number of representative responses. At any point, you can export the survey results to Excel in order to view all current and historic individual responses. The survey must be administered at least once per 12 months in order to collect the data needed to calculate carbon totals for transportation and generate a score. A blended approach to transportation survey collection may be used in case both email and in-person administration is best suited for your project. The Transportation Performance Score rates the project's greenhouse gas emissions measured in carbon dioxide equivalent emissions resulting from transportation to the building against other high-performing buildings worldwide. The score is a value from 1 to 100 based on the project's average CO2 equivalent per one-way trip per occupant. To calculate a transportation performance score, the following data is required. All data is collected via the Transportation Survey conducted at least once a year, number of regular building occupants and visitors, regular building occupant survey responses, commuting transportation mode or modes, and distance traveled. An emissions value is calculated automatically in ARC for each building occupant that completes the survey, and an average emissions value is calculated by taking an average of the individual emissions. The project's average CO2 equivalent per one-way trip per occupant becomes the basis for transportation performance score. Now that you've added data into ARC, you can view and analyze your transportation score. The total score page shows the sum total of all the weighted category scores. Clicking on the individual racetracks will take you to the associated category analytics page. Below the total weighted score, ARC displays the individual category unweighted scores and their associated global and local averages. Global averages represent all buildings in ARC around the world. Local averages represent projects within your state or province. For countries outside of the US without states or provinces, local average represents the total country. These average scores may change over time as an increasing number of projects become active in ARC. On the navigation bar, category scores are further benchmarked. Each category score shows a racetrack view with 3 concentric unweighted scores. The outermost racetrack is the most current month's score. The middle racetrack is last month's score, and the innermost racetrack is the score from 1 year prior. This benchmarking view shows your score at a glance and provides more context for your current score. Below the benchmarked view is the current weighted score for reference. Clicking on any of these graphics brings you to the relevant analytics category. Within the Analytics Transportation category, you can review the last 12 months of score changes to get a complete picture of your performance. Lastly, performance improvement metrics highlight your project's pathway to score improvement based on the data in ARC. For a comprehensive score breakdown, which includes historic scores, ARC provides downloadable reports. In Data Input, under Settings, you can create a report by selecting a specific date range. This can include a recent time period or go back to the activation of the project in ARC. Once this report is created and downloaded, you can view all weighted category and total scores. Additionally, each score category has its own tab in the report which shows the data in ARC for the time period initially selected for the report. For the transportation category, this is a fast way to download all the submitted responses. Now that we've reviewed the transportation category, score, and data input in detail, you're ready to take the next steps in generating your own transportation performance score. Take a moment to review the information in the last module and update your project plan activity sheet with the relevant information. Next, we'll take a deep dive into the performance score and data requirements for the human experience category.